Bearcat Bounce podcast. Back at it again, guys. Happy Monday. Happy Monday following Get Your Brooms Out. Let's sweep Monday. Great weekend for the baseball team. Happy Monday following Kentucky Derby. Get your Derby clothes on and enjoy greatest 2 minutes in sports. Happy Monday following another week of off season for the football program and basketball program, and happy Monday where we're going to dive right into it. No reason to bury the lead. This is a extremely special night with an extremely special guest. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the crew, the squad. We are somewhat assembled, and then of course the one very special guest. So without further ado, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, and the head coach of your baseball Bearcats, Jordan Bishel. Coach and boys, gentlemen, how are we?
If I was any better, I'd be twins, Brent. Doing great.
There we go.
Doing great.
I'm doing well, but can you imagine the disappointment of the people that just tuned in? You're saying we got this great special guest, and then my face pops up, and I mean, it just the viewership just right through the bottom.
No.
But sorry to disappoint all those attending.
No, you're
JP Sponseller's already here.
That's awesome. Now we're talking.
locked in. He was in Lawrence this weekend.
He was in Lawrence. He covers it. He does an awesome job, man.
He does. Love his road to
But
Omaha.
he's one of us now. Like he is converted. He's now a member of the Bearcat Journal Network.
Good. So his brother Lee, who helped us out when I first got here, played D2 ball in the same conference I coached. And in a conference tournament game once, he got at least like 9 hits against us. It was the most. We started playing 4 outfielders, and it wasn't enough. We needed like 6 of them. We could not get the guy out.
It's an okay thing. Chad, how are we? You said that if you were any better, you'd be twins. So you know what, Coach? I think you're not really giving yourself enough credit. You're one of the favorite returning guests on this BBP. I get people flood my DM saying when's Coach Bishel coming back on, and so
right
here we go. We're ready.
I don't know where flattery is going to get you, Brent, but keep trying.
Thought I'd throw it out there. Give my best.
We figured you weren't very busy right around this time of year, so you had time to jump on with us.
Yeah, it's no problem. The hay's in the barn now, right? Just roll out the balls and hope the best happens. So scouting reports, they're out. So
They're out. All the way out.
I'm good, Brent. Had a good weekend. Had some good food. Hung out. Had a good time. It was pretty relaxing. Now that May has really become the only month on my calendar where there's a little bit of a breather. So taking full advantage.
Here we go. Aaron, how are we, sir?
I'm doing fine. Made it through the weekend, which is always good. And here we are.
Here we go. Another Monday. Happy to have you. The boy, Ryan, welcome. You're live to tape. How are we, sir?
Doing well. Good to see you again, Coach. Excited to have you on after a big series out in Kansas.
Appreciate it. So excited you showed up 5 minutes late, huh?
I was having trouble connecting my AirPods. Technology. You might have to help me out.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I had a retweet on my Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and Katie said to me, "Did somebody hack into your account?"
Yes.
Maybe you can have Mr.
Yes.
Road to Omaha help you out. He's got the podcast tech going lately.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
Hey, if it ain't the dew, you don't know it. All you know is your Mountain Dew, right?
Shown.
There it is.
No free ads, but there we go.
Yep.
We're still working on it. But yeah, man. Well, you know what? I tell you what, Road to Omaha podcast, fantastic podcast. A great one that you can listen to as you drive your car over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care, and just sit in your car with an oil change getting done. Blast that through the speakers, because we got a lot to talk about right now when it comes to baseball. And so Danco Transmission Auto Care give you $10 off that oil change, 10% off your next fixing over at Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Love you, Danco. Joe, Coach, have you ever been over to Danco Transmission Auto Care? They'll hook you up.
I think I'm supposed to say I go there weekly, right?
There we
All
go.
the time.
Good answer.
Yep.
Good answer.
Best place to go to.
There we go. Tell him Coach Bishel sent you after you come back from Lawrence and now Tulsa and then all the way down to TCU. And just when you get back home, tell him we sent you. You'll get everything you need.
Will
But-
do. Barnstorming around.
There we go. Coach, I'm going to open up right away with the number one question on everyone's mind. What is going through your head during that marathon of a thrilling game that took place on Saturday? We're going to talk about the entire sweep, the 3-game wins.
Yeah, and I want to go to bed. That's about what it was. But no, I mean, that was a crazy one because trying to remember the sequence, but we fell behind early and their pitcher was doing a pretty good job shutting us down. Strike thrower, ground ball guy. We really didn't have anything going through, 4 or 5 innings. I think we were down 5-1 or 5-2. And then we were able to hang a bunch of big numbers on the board, but it seemed like every time we did, they came back with one, and we get to the final out in the 9th, and we give up a 3-run homer, go figure, to tie it. And honestly, at that point, not that, the game's far from over, but Kansas has been pretty darn good on their home field, and they've had a lot of those late come from behind, get the big hit, and it starts to feel like, God, is this our night? But then obviously we get out of the 9th and we get to the 10th, and Loudon, who doesn't have a home run this year and is a senior who's not had a great year but is a really good player, goes ahead and hits a home run to put us back ahead. And that's, kind of the type of team we have. They just keep going. And then obviously Carrington kind of put the cherry on top with his 3rd home run of the game. But it was a special win for our guys. That's a really tough place to play. And when the lead evaporates a couple of times late and you just bounce off the mat every time, that was pretty impressive by our guys.
Carrington Cross had a game that night.
He had a month that night.
Goes 5 of 7, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. Just a special performance. Ties school records with the home runs, or the home runs, I think, where it was broke the school record, and the RBIs tied the school record. But I believe he tied the school record with total bases as well, 14. What's it feel like to watch a guy going through that? I mean, he's just in the zone.
Yeah, what's funny about that, if you watch SportsCenter the next day, he got on SportsCenter's top 10, but it was because their center fielder robbed him of a double at the wall with an amazing play. So he was one great defensive play away from having another double in that game. What's kind of insane about it with the year Carrington's had, and in the moment you're not thinking about the stats he's piling up, you're just following the game, but it almost feels normal. Carrington gets up there and he smashes the ball somewhere, right? And it's just what he does now, to do it over and over, but it didn't feel out of character for him because it's just kind of what he's done all year. Hitting 400 at this level is darn near impossible, and he's finding a way to do it. It's pretty awesome. It's funny because on Thursday we go on the road. We're practicing at Lawrence, and Katie, my wife, sends me a video of one of our 2 twin boys. Luke, he's 7. He's playing his Little League game. He hits a grand slam, his first ever home run in a game. So he's all excited. He ends up hitting a triple, a double. He has 8 RBIs in that game. And so he is bouncing off the walls. A couple of our guys get on FaceTime. And then Saturday comes and Luke calls me and he says, Dad, Carrington had more RBIs than I did. And so his record-breaking 8 RBI game was beaten in a Division I game 2 days later by Carrington Cross. That's yeah, and literally putting up Little League numbers, right, with the stats he's putting up, and pretty amazing. And then he comes out the next day and does more of the same.
Would you say that performance, 5 for 7, all those bases, was one of the best performances you've seen as a coach?
Yeah, it has to be. And I think what makes it even more special is that's a game we were down 5-2. So every one of those home runs was ultra valuable. Sometimes you're pounding a team and you win 18-0 and you're facing their last guy in the bullpen. Not that 3 home runs is easy, but to do that when every one is a leverage situation against a leverage arm, I mean, that just doesn't happen, but it did.
Yeah, and you were kind of alluding to his stats on the season, kind of piggyback on that question. Is this one of the more impressive seasons you've had one of your players at any of the various?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it was my 3rd year at Northwood at the D2 level. We had a freshman who he led the nation with 109 hits. We played, I think, 59 games, so almost 2 hits a game, which was one of the more ridiculous of freshmen with 109 hits. And this is that type of a season where every time he gets in the box, you just kind of assume something good is going to happen. And his cold stretches involve, being 1 for 4. And then he can in one day kind of right his swing and right the ship. And it's been really, really impressive. We've won a lot of games, a lot of places, but to see a guy be that consistently a force, and he missed the better part of 5 games early in the season with the hamstring. And, if he'd have had those games under his belt, we'd probably have another win or two, but he'd even have bigger numbers, obviously.
Nice. What can you I was just say, is there anything you're attributing like this success? Is it kind of just built up of games, reps and at bats kind of over his career, or do you think he did anything different or attack anything this offseason?
I think, most great players work incredibly hard at the mental side or incredibly hard at the physical side. And he really does both. Like, he really understands his own swing and understands how to make adjustments. And when he's got one game where he's not on the barrel the way he wants to, he's able to break down film with coaches and really make the adjustment right away. That's really, really hard to do. But then, if you look back 2 years before we got here, he had good power numbers, but he struck out a lot and didn't walk a whole lot. And we teach a pretty disciplined hitting approach, and it's just a science to him. Like, there was a game last week. It was Oklahoma State. We got blown out. We're down, 8 or 9 to 1 or something in the 9th, and he strikes out on a 3-2 changeup out of the zone. And honestly, that game's over at that point. There's 2 outs in the 9th, but he's just furious with himself about giving away an at bat, because you don't give away at bats, and that's what makes him so good. Is physically, he's always in tune to what he's doing, but then he's so dialed into a quality hitting approach that, you marry those two things together, it's going to make for a tough out every time he gets in the batter's box.
Chemical engineering too. I've listened to a couple podcasts recently talking about his little past with all that. Ryan, he woke up at 3 a.m. for a handful of.
It was unbelievable. First fall here. I mean, he's working 4 to noon or whatever every day, and then coming to practice, never missing a day. And then the spring semesters, he's had to have these labs and afternoon, so he's missing half our practices, and it's not even a concern of ours, because we know. Not only is he going to put in the time, but he's going to do it with intent and focus. So whether we're there or not, he's going to get it done. He's just a really impressive kid. And it's cool because he probably would have had a pro opportunity last year, if not for his major. That made him a little less signable, probably asked for a little more money than anybody was willing to give him. But it's played out really well because he's leaving a legacy here, and he's still going to get that pro opportunity at the end of the year, and maybe even be looked at a little more highly, obviously.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Coach, you come off of the 3-game sweep at the hands of West Virginia a couple weeks ago. That kind of back against the wall mentality from that point. Did you have to tell the guys that, or do you have this team at the point where they kind of understood that we let a couple get away and now we really, we've got to work. We got to get over the hump here?
Yeah, I think there's never been a lack of caring. I think it's the opposite. They try too hard. They get discouraged when there's not success. We have pretty high expectations for ourselves, and we've got some good players, but we're not, rolling out the single most talented team in our league. We certainly have good players that can compete, but the winning thing's really, really hard. And, that kind of snowballed into that Tuesday game at Xavier when we got absolutely pounded. And it was a spot where they had to kind of decide. We talk about it a fair amount. We've got a plan, we've got a style we play, we've got a system that we think works. And when it doesn't work, do you double down on it and do you recommit to it, or do you question what you're doing? And they came out against Milwaukee, played a nice game against a team that not quite as good, but we did some good things, and then carried that over into Oklahoma State. But certainly, I mean, we were, a couple more bad days away from being in a pretty big hole. And they kind of just recommitted. We're going to trust what we're doing. We're going to enjoy it. And it's just a hard league. There's just nobody that's bad. There's no games you circle and say, hey, this is an easy win. That's the hard part, is when you get in a little bit of a funk, somebody's going to jump on you. Like, you're not going to get away with it. And I think what's cool about it, you look at Central Florida, they were in a regional last year, beat us out for one of those last spots, returned a lot of quality players, really, really talented quality team with a quality coach. And they've just not been able to break out of that funk, just close loss after close loss. You replay this season, they could have 10 more wins, but it's kind of snowballed on them. And when we've been up against that, our guys have really responded well, which has been cool to see.
Back to the sweep this weekend. Obviously, you can't have a sweep. We've talked about the Saturday game. You can't have a sweep without winning on Friday and Sunday as well. One, it's common to see a player like Carrington Cross go off in multiple games, but little uncommon to see a pitcher have an impact on 2 different games. So when you see Kellen O'Connor come out for the 9th on Friday night, and he's slated as a starter on Sunday, it ended up working out in your favor. But what kind of went into that whole decision?
Well, it helps when you got a staff of coaches that grew up in the Division III, Division II, NAIA, just try to win games, and you don't have arms to protect, and you have to worry about agents and advisors. If you feel good enough to pitch, you pitch. And honestly, that's a lot of what went into it. We've got good pitchers in our bullpen that have done some good things, but at times we've struggled to finish out some games. And Kellen's a 24-year-old, 6th-year senior that he very well might get a pro opportunity at the end of this year, but there's not a bunch of bonus money riding on it. He loves to compete. He loves to get after it. His pitch counts were really limited early in the season, missed the start because of illness, and so he's not had a big workload, and he's really pitched well. So ultimately, it's like, hey, we got a fresh arm that we think can finish a game, and we knew. He threw a few more pitches than we wanted, but we knew an inning of work with 1 day's rest, he should be pretty sharp coming out again. The only thing it impacted for him is I thought he started to hit the wall maybe at about 75 pitches on Sunday, but he was able to grind through it and get through 6. Just ultra competitive kid. But I think, we got guys that want to win, and he doesn't want to walk out of his 6th year saying, man, I was healthy enough to help us win a couple more ball games, but I just wanted to go with the social norm of I'm just a starter. Like, that's what you want, competitors. And we got to protect our guys. We're not just going to run Nate Taylor out there for 155 pitches this week, but we trusted that we weren't putting him in a real bad spot. It's fun to see guys that want the baseball.
First sweep of a ranked team for the Cincinnati Bearcats in 25 years. First time this happened since 2000. When this season's all said and done, you look back at this weekend in particular, where is this going to rank as far as moments of your coaching career?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we've had a lot of good ones, and in the moment, you probably even magnify it more. But that's a really, really good team that very much went into the weekend with an opportunity to be a regional host, one of those top 16 teams in the country. And so to get out with 3 wins is certainly, probably don't have any better weekends than that, right? Probably a few others that rank right up there, but pretty cool for our guys. And that place had been starting. Coach Fitzgerald's in his 3rd year. They've really taken off, and that ballpark has started to take on a little bit of a life of its own as being this really energetic, tough place to win. And so it was, we're down in the late innings of game 1. Jack hit a huge 3-run homer. They tie it up in the 9th of game 2. So you kind of figure that could have gone the other way, and then kind of just took over in game 3. So definitely a big one. I think, for me, we want this season to finish on a really high note, and we really believe this team can play in June. We got to get some things accomplished yet, but it's another weekend of stacking where we think we can get, which is right in the thick of this league, which makes you a national type team. And it's just another weekend where we can kind of check off, hey, we're for real. We're here to stay. And last year wasn't a fluke. And I don't know how this next 2 weeks plays out, but like when you see us on that Big 12 schedule, it's not just, hey, we're going to go get a couple wins against a team that just joined our league. We're going to have our hands full all weekend. And I'm proud that most weekends we've made that happen.
A player at this point of the season in any sport, you get the whole moniker of like a freshman that is now playing as a sophomore playing as a junior, so on and so forth. But when it comes to a player like Quentin Coates, who really has started to have a lot of high exit velo numbers, and he's really starting to get things going in the meat of the Big 12 schedule, how impressive has that been able to see from your side of things?
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is, he still is a lot freshman because he didn't play much early in the year. So even though he's got a lot of practice reps, certainly he got thrown into the fire. It wasn't, he wasn't getting 4 starts against Canisius or one of those non-conference opponents. Like, his at-bats have come against the better teams, and so he's doing an awesome job. And he played a little first base in high school, but that's a pretty new position to him. He's doing a good job over there. We saw some flashes of this in the fall. The challenge with Quentin is, you look at left field, we have Cal Sefcik, who's pretty darn productive. You look at third base, we're probably not going to sit him for Carrington. That might make me lose my job. Tommy and Dawson at first base. A lot of good players at his spots, and it stinks for Tommy that he's had kind of a rough senior season. He's continuing to grind and work through it, and we're hopeful he can finish strong. But it opened a door for Quentin, and he bounced through. We really thought long term he was going to be a solution for us, and we went into the year saying, hey, we got to get this guy at bats, and we just had trouble finding him, and he's taken advantage, and to a lesser extent now Derek Pitts, a lot of the same stuff. Donovan Ford's had a really nice year for us. He's dealing with a lower body injury and forced him out of the lineup. And instead of shuffling guys around, we just kind of said next man up. We've seen Derek starting to make a lot of progress in practice. So threw him out there, and he's hit a couple big home runs for us, and he's playing great defense. And that's fun for the future, right? This last couple of weeks, it's been 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores playing every day. That doesn't happen a lot in our league, and we're still having success, which is good to see.
Kind of along the same lines of like Ryan the hot hand and whatnot. What goes into your coaching philosophy when you kind of put lineups together as the year goes on with injuries, slumps, hot streaks? Because it seems like, Landon Vitterick has batting pretty much every spot in the order throughout the year at certain times.
Yeah, I get a new hat, and then I write down 9 or 10 names on a piece of paper, and however they come out, you just write it on the card. And
I like that.
Generally, it's work. No, it's interesting because I think guys do like stability. They like to know what to expect, and so you don't want to just every time a guy is 0 for 4, you bump them down the lineup or sit them. But at the same time, the way guys are performing does impact. So to me, it's short-sighted to just say, well, that's our lineup and we're sticking with it. And so like Landon, who early in the season, quite frankly, he was in his own head and didn't really trust himself. And we were hitting him at the bottom of the order. And I mean, this kid's got a chance to be a big leaguer. He's probably a top 5 rounder in July here. And finally, I was just kind of fed up with it. And I brought him in and I said, listen, you're too good to hit 9th. And it was the start of that home stretch with Toledo and Canisius. And I just said, listen, you're hitting 3rd, and you're either hitting 3rd or you're not hitting. You're just too good to bury at the bottom of the order and hope. And he responded. He had a huge week. And then he hits a little bit of a rough stretch a couple of weeks ago, but he's still taking walks. He's getting on base, and ultimately he's hitting behind Carrington. So when he's struggling, people aren't going to want to pitch to Carrington, but he's still walking. He's getting on base. So that's why I bumped him up to that leadoff spot. And that allowed him to just have some good at-bats, maybe take a little pressure off, take a walk, and Carrington's probably going to drive you in every time, easy enough. And now he's gotten some confidence back, and he's really hitting. So we'll stick with it and ride it. But he's, he is a prototypical leadoff hitter. I mean, he walks a ton, he hits a bunch of home runs, and he steals bases every time he's on. So it's not a terrible combination.
We did have a question on Twitter that I wanted to make sure
I used that once.
Oh. But Bob Rowe asked, how much time do you put in working on bunting? Has it become harder to impress upon players bunting is important given the lack of attention given to it by high school and travel ball coaches?
Yeah, I'll skip the sarcastic answer. I'll give you the honest answer. We spend a lot of time on our bunting. It is probably in the fall 4 days a week. In the lead up to the season, probably 3 days to 4 days a week. In season, it's a part of nearly every batting practice. If you see us during batting practice at a home game, after you take your swings in the cage, there's going to be a machine set up behind home plate where they work on it. And so we spend a tremendous amount of time on it. But, this is all Coach Winsky, Tom Winsky, who was my college coach. What's so different, I think, about our style of it is he is an absolute stickler that mechanically we are all going to be the same with it. If you watch our guys swing, we're not teaching them all the same swing. Carrington looks way different than Landon. But from the bunting perspective, every left-handed hitter should look exactly the same. Every right-handed hitter should look exactly the same. And people don't understand bunting at this level is actually really, really difficult. Like the average fastball we see is 92, 93 with movement, with a good slider that they're mixing 50% of the time. Like catching that on the right part of the bat, on the right angle, that's hard to do. And so we practice it like crazy. And I think that's the difference is we just take a lot of pride in it. It can be a challenge early, getting a little bit of buy-in for it because, listen, there's no worse feeling in the world when you bunt and you make an easy out. You bunt it back to the pitcher and they throw you out by 40 feet and, the other dugout's probably chirping at you that you're scared to hit and you feel like a dumbass for bunting into an out. But, look at our strikeout totals. If they're not bunting, pretty damn good chance they're going to whiff anyway. So that's kind of college baseball now. It's not just our guys. And so getting them over that fear of failure, I think one thing that helps our guys buy in is if you watch us play, very, very, very rarely do we bunt to move a base runner. We bunt to pressure you and get base hits. And so, these guys like stats. They like to put up numbers. And like when there's a runner on second, nobody out, and you put a good bunt down, you've got two results. You're going to get a sacrifice, and it's not going to hurt you. You're going to get a base hit, and it's going to help you. That's pretty good for the stat line. And I think we've put about 60 bunts on the ground this year, and we've got like 32 hits or something like that. We're hitting over 500 in those spots, and the rest of them are more or less sacrifices. So their batting average is probably 800 on them. But in terms of helping the team, it starts to get easier. We're like, when we say, hey, a good bunt, we're 50, 60%. Who on this team is hitting 500 or 600? Like, this is a great play. And then it's just one of those things that now it's exciting in the dugout. Guys get behind it. Guys pick up teammates. And, but it's big. And it's not just the bunts that help your batting average. When that third baseman plays in and you chop one off the turf and it bounces over his head, when you shoot one into that 6 hole, I mean, those all create. I remember last year, Christian Mitchell had a game. I think he had 3 hits where they were out of position and he just knocked it by him. And it impacts a lot of things. You get more fastballs to hit, but it's a great question because most of these guys, when they get to us, listen, you probably don't get a Big 12 offer because you're the best bunter on your team, right? And so they're not real well schooled at it, but we work really, really hard at it, which is why you see our best ones are generally the experienced guys, the Christian Mitchells, the Luke Safsicks, the Loudon Brooks, the guys that have done it for a couple of years. Because like hitting, it takes a lot of work. Is that the most excited you've ever seen me talking about bunting?
Actually, yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
I was going to keep you rolling with your ability on the base paths as well, because I know how excited you get about that. So
I was also just going to ask real quick, Carrington Cross, you put the bunt on for him very often, or
this is what? No, we don't. We almost never put it on. But Duke opening weekend, when we're trying to kind of establish our identity, he's having a weekend like he did like he's gotten a hit every single time. He's like 10 for 7, hitting 1,400 on the weekend. And late in the series, he's up with a runner on third, 2 outs, and drops down a drag bunt for a base hit. And you talk about a team being excited about a guy, hunting for the team. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing. And he's done that 2 or 3 times this year. Like, not too often we want him to bunt, but shoot, when he sees an opportunity, he'll take it. And that's the type of kid he is and kind of the type of guys these are.
But that's his call, not yours, right? You're not putting.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while there might be a spot. He's had a week, like 3 at-bats this year where he wasn't great. But for him, he pulls the ball a ton. So just the ability to do it, like bring that third baseman in, and he's smart. He knows that. Like, if that guy's going to play back, he's costing me batting average. So I'll go get 1 hit, and then I'll bring him in and blast another one by him, and here we go. So, but it's funny, a lot of these guys hunted on their own now. Like, we certainly call a lot of them, but we have a lot of bunt hits where they see a guy out of position and they hunt that thing.
And then what is the method when they get on base then? Because I mean, you guys, I don't know what your national ranking is as far as stolen bases, but having that many stolen bases at that high of a clip of not getting thrown out as well, that's a huge.
That's the qualifier. Is Tom knows that I just despise outs on the bases. Like, they are just, if you're a money ball guy, on base percentage is everything. You make an out on the bases, it just erases it. So we've had to find a way. How can we play super aggressive but never make outs? It's almost impossible, right? But the 2 things really go into it. Number 1, teaching our guys what a good jump is like, how to have, some is just straight steal. Like when Vid is on base, he's so fast. Pitcher lifts his leg, you take off. But a guy like Carrington, who's really not real fast, he runs okay, he's going to need to do some vaulting, and he's going to need to kind of shuffle off as pitcher comes set. And you've got to have great footwork, great discipline. We always talk about it's just as important not to go as it is to go. If the jump's not there, you have to shut that thing down. That takes a lot of practice because we want these guys trying to steal darn near every pitch, but some games only going once or not going at all. That's a really hard balance to find. So that's number 1. That takes, again, Tom just does a tremendous job, but then we've now got way more video than we had at lower levels where we can watch every pitch a pitcher throws, every pickoff a guy has. So whether they fall into certain rhythms, whether there's a little tell, sometimes you see something, this guy does this before he delivers the ball, whether there's certain times they pick, getting a better feel for how accurate catchers are. Like, it's kind of this huge complex math problem. Thankfully, I'm a weirdo numbers left-handed accounting guy that can process some of that, and then being taught how to to take advantage of it. And so I would bet in an average week, again, Tom probably spends a good hour with our base runners in terms of working some of that technique stuff, probably another hour watching video. And then he probably spends, a full day every week watching opponents to figure out where are their opportunities. And the bunt game is actually similar. How do they cover bunts? How do they attack certain things? And there's a lot of science and work behind it, but man, when it pays off, it's huge. And Kansas this weekend was, it's funny because they do a great job holding runners. They're quick to the plate. They're hard to run on. We did end up stealing, I think, 5 bases on the weekend. So we got a few, but their pitchers were clearly changing what they were doing. They were changing how long they were holding the baseball. Their times to the plate were quicker. And ultimately, if we can't steal a single base, but a pitcher throws every pitch with runners on uncomfortably, sometimes you see what you saw at the plate, which was 11 home. Like, you're getting better pitches to hit. You're drawing walks. And so it's hard to prepare for. And in our sport, football, you have a whole week to get the team ready, right? We're playing 4 days a week. Like, you play Tuesday, you practice. They've got like a day to get ready for us. So if you're not good at the things you need to do to stop us, like Tom always talks about it he said, unless they're pulling them out of the dorms at 8 this morning to practice their pickoffs, they are what they are at this point. And so it's been fun to see that go into play. We feel like we're the most efficient short team game in the country, and that's been fun to see.
It's a great approach because, giving them a lot of things to prepare for, just you're always going to find things to exploit. Like you said, make them uncomfortable in the little details, their approach at the play. I love that because that's exactly how you're going to steal runs from teams, and you guys have made a heyday on it. And just I love your attention to detail. It's really impressive.
And I think this weekend was like Kansas. And listen, I got a ton of respect for Kansas. Coach Fitzgerald is one of the best in the country, and they are really good, but they're going to hit the ball out of the park. They're going to take walks and hit the ball out of the park. And if they do those things, they're going to get you. And if they don't, but listen, every hitter can be pitched to, right? And so if you execute pitches to the edges, you can neutralize a lot of that. If the wind's blowing in, like, you're neutralized. And so can you be diverse in how you score when all of a sudden you can create runs with some short game, you can steal some bases, we can walk and get hit by pitches. We saw this weekend, we did some of that. Ultimately, we hit 11 balls out of the park. That was the difference. And so we try to teach, like, you got to be diverse in how you play offense if you want to be consistent. We haven't been consistent enough this year, but you can see when it's going well what it looks like. And that's something we're proud of. Takes a lot of work. And I think it's fun for the guys too, though. Like, because now if you're not hitting, you can still really impact the game. And that, I think, helps keep guys really, really engaged.
I know from my days covering Mick Cronin, he hated the long road trip. You guys, you went from Lawrence, you're now in Tulsa. You'll go from Tulsa to Dallas, Fort Worth to take on TCU. Mick always hated those. You had a chance to do something like that early in the season. Can you take something from that trip? Because, I mean, that trip to San Diego was a tough one for you. Can you take something from that, or is it just
without a doubt? Yeah, without a doubt. It's kind of a catch-22 because I probably hate long road trips too, but probably even more, I hate a whole lot of short road trips, and our road trips aren't a day or two like basketball. Like, our trips are 4 days. So if we would have come home, you're home for 72 hours and and Mick was flying on charters. He had it made. So we got the commercial thing. So I think it saves a lot of wear and tear on our guys to stay on the road. But I'll say this, I thought that first road trip of the year, now, we had some injuries. We were learning some things, but I didn't think we were excited enough about the opportunity. Like, I think our guys at times viewed it as what you just said, a long road trip, when really you have to view it as, I'm getting to play baseball every day, not go to school, not like, and I don't think, I think it's become a little cultural. Like, when I was young, that opportunity is like, you love it. And we're so now based with kids that I had to kind of remind them, like, guys, how cool is this? Like, you're really close with these guys. And so we really spent a little time before this trip saying, hey, we got to reframe our minds. Like, and we termed it, we're taking, 11 one-day trips this week. The trip started on a Thursday. It's 11 days. Let's have a great Thursday. Let's attack it. Let's have a good practice. Let's get good rest. And then, hey, day 2 is just a brand new trip and get after it. And I don't know if that has any impact on why we've won. I can tell myself it does because I can feel good as a coach, I guess. But I think that's, rather than view it as one big long trip, just 11 cool opportunities, right? Like we're in Tulsa. But yeah, we get to play a really good team tomorrow in a new environment, a place that these guys never may go otherwise. And then we get to go down to Arlington. Like these are cool opportunities. And I think we're embracing that a lot more than we did early in the season.
Bullpen
Is there something that you're
tomorrow? Bullpen day tomorrow as scheduled.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to challenge the bullpen guys? Like, hey, you got a chance to help us get a really solid midweek win here that can help keep this thing moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. The RPI doesn't just look at conference games, right? Like they all matter. And it was, as long as that weekend was, we did not tax our bullpen all that much. We used Kellen out of the pen, so that chewed up an inning. Nate gave us 8 innings. Adam Buchkowski threw like 4 in relief. So we didn't tax a lot of guys. So we'll have some healthy arms, and it's rise of the challenge, the next guy up, and they should be able to. It's a good team, Oral Roberts. They're solid. They were in the World Series 2 years ago. I think they've got wins against Dallas Baptist, Oklahoma State. They've got some big wins this year, but that's what we should want to play in these midweeks, is tough competition that keep making us better.
You mentioned that RPI and how every game matters, and you've been kind of hitting on consistency and, making sure your guys' heads are in the right place with these road trips. Is there something like you're really trying to hit home on here to kind of drive that consistency in this big kind of down the stretch set of games to try to really make that push?
Yeah, I think it's just what I said. Let's really view it as each individual day is its own challenge, because it at some point on this trip, we'll probably dump a game. If we don't have to talk much more about the RPI. That'll be just fine. But how you respond to that and bounce back the next day. Flip side, you play a long 4.5-hour marathon and win. If you're so giddy about that you don't get ready for the next day, you can erase it in a heartbeat. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's so easy right now to try to figure out how many conference wins do we need? How many overall wins do we need? What are other teams doing? Where are we at in the standings? And I want our guys to care about those things. If they don't, we got the wrong guys. But ultimately, the way to fix those things or put them in the right spot is look ahead at, and it sounds really coach speak, Belichick type crap, but what's the next 24 hours hold, and how can I do the best and to me, that's what we need to do, because yes, making the NCAA tournament would be awesome, but it should be awesome trying to make, playing these games should be a lot of fun. It shouldn't be like, crap, we didn't make it, so these were all miserable. Whether we make it or not, let's take advantage of these opportunities and just embrace, we got something cool in front of us tomorrow, so let's make sure we enjoy that.
Love it.
JP in the chat wanted to know how many Diet Mountain Dews it took to get through Saturday.
I only brought 2 to the field.
Oh,
and so
man.
by the sixth inning, it was
no.
I mean, I was thinking about getting thrown out of that game just to get my ass on the bus. But I didn't know if John thought that was justifiable. So I hung in there for the team, but it was miserable. 2 was it. Now, it's always good on getaway day. I bring a bunch because I know I'm getting on the bus, and usually they don't make it to the bus. I just polish them off during the game.
If anybody from Mountain Dew is watching, get this man a sponsorship. There's nobody more loyal.
It's yes, you're 100% right. It's incredibly frustrating right now. It's just they have to be. I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr., what did he ever do to earn it? Right?
Nothing.
I drove a car all day.
Right.
He turned left. Congratulations, he turned left.
Yeah, he held his pee for 4 hours at a time. I guess that's impressive, but which I can't do when I drink all this diet. There's no way he drank as much Diet Mountain.
No chance. No,
he'd have been pissing his pants in that race car all race long.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier the dugout getting chirpy, especially during the bunts and what have you. It's kind of a known thing that the Bearcats, even before you got here, they were known for having a chirpy dugout. And I believe it was the Oklahoma State series that people were talking about that you really got under the skin of Oklahoma State. Is there anything that you're doing different this year as far as getting them motivated in the dugout and getting them loud, getting them talking?
Yeah, our dugout for teams I've coached has been the same for a long time now. And what I take a lot of pride in is if you watch us play, we really do nothing that's directed at the other team. And that's really, really important to me. And this is going to be a little soapboxy, but to me, life is kind of about worrying about yourself and not what other people are doing and not having to be Mr. Tough Guy and Mr. Macho. And I think like you watch these SEC weekends, and every weekend somebody is staring somebody down and somebody's picking a fight. And like, I don't get it. Like, we spend so much time with each other, preparing with each other, enjoying each other's company, that why on earth are we caught up about what bullpen arm number 13, who's got a 54 ERA, is saying from their dugout about what? Like, I just do not care. I don't want to be involved in that. And it leads to a lot of dumb crap that, quite frankly, in life, when you go to the office and have a meeting, if you don't like what's going on, you can't just yell at the other person and tell them they suck. Like, that's not going to work. And so, again, that's really soapboxy. But the other thing I think it does, it helps us really stay relaxed throughout games. Like, you're not being Mr. Let's Go and Mr. Tough Guy, and you're just trying to enjoy yourself. So if you watch our dugout, we make all kinds of noise. Our guys broke out in singing Feliz Navidad like 3 different times in our dugout this year. I have no idea why. It's nonsense, but when you tell 18 to 22-year-olds to just enjoy themselves and have fun, they do stupid, weird stuff. And if that's keeping them relaxed and keeping them focused on what we're doing and keeping them in – baseball is freaking boring, guys. Like, nothing goes on for half these games. And so to keep these guys engaged when they know they may not play, and then all of a sudden their number's called, like, that helps them stay involved. And it helps us emphasize the things we do when they're encouraged to celebrate a bunt hit or celebrate a good at-bat. So there's actually a lot of method behind all the – quite frankly, I mean, if I had a Diet Mountain Dew for every time we got called a softball team, I wouldn't need this sponsorship. But it's kind of like a point of pride for me. Like, we want to be known. They're making fun of us for having fun and having the most energy and being the most engaged. That's awesome. Like, that's a great problem to have, right?
You don't have any fans in your dugout, right?
No, okay, we
good,
don't.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
might be a hazard for some of your
Ryan
good
used
players.
Ryan used to encourage his football teammates to stick their head in fans.
Yeah, we don't. That's what we're trying to avoid is football. So, and whenever whenever it's like bases loaded, 2 outs, 2-2 count, I'll say to our assistants, I said, "Here comes the big let's go," and it just depends if it's the pitcher or the hitter, and I don't even know what does let's go mean. Like, where are we? I don't know where we're going, but somebody's got to let's go. And our guys still do some of that. They care about it, but it's, you take yourself too seriously. It leads to a lot of, if you guys haven't noticed, I don't really take myself all that seriously. So I don't think anybody else takes me seriously either. So it's a good thing.
Is that something you tried to rub off on your hitters, like that approach of, one pitch at a time, don't take it too seriously?
Yes.
Your approach.
100%.
You feel like they've, adapted more and more each year with
we haven't been great at it this year, and I think it was expectations. Last year it's like when we won, it was an upset every time, right? Like, at least early in the season, and so there wasn't a lot of pressure. And this year we start out great against Duke. We know what our guys want to get accomplished, and I think when they saw some failure, there was a lot more panic because they expected to have success, and we didn't handle that very well. As the year's gone on, we've gotten a lot better at it, and that's why we do it. Like, you don't get to this level not giving a crap about success, right? Like, these guys really, really care and really, really want to do well individually and as a team. And I played small Division III baseball, and I still remember being incredibly stressed out for our games and making them out to be way bigger than they had to be. And so I've tried to, deliver the message that, like, it's just, you've prepared so hard for this. You got to go out and enjoy it. And if you can't in this sport, you're going to fail way too often. Easier said than done, but it definitely is something that we want our guys to feel that, they're going to fail. It's going to happen. We're going to lose games. And I kind of joke with them, guys, if, my family depends on us winning, and I'm homeless if you guys suck. And if I can stay relaxed, you probably ought to be able to as well.
One more before we let you go. You've got 4 on the road here before you get back to Cincinnati, then Indiana, and then potentially, if you can keep it rolling, a really important series with Kansas State, who's kind of in that same tax bracket as you in the middle of the Big 12 standings. How important for the fans to show up, and for anybody that's, the couple thousand people that listen to this podcast to get them out to the games next week?
Yeah, no, it's really important. We have played so well at home. We had one rough weekend against BYU, but we won the series against Oklahoma State, Arizona State. I mean, those are teams consistently in the hunt for the World Series. We had a sweep of UCF, which was awesome, and a lot of that is due to fan support. And Yeah, those games are going to mean a lot for us. And no matter what happens this week, we're going to be in the thick of things. And I know last year, our last home series was against Oklahoma. For those people that paid attention to it, we hit a grand slam in the bottom of the eighth. Kids' first career home run. They were a top 10 team. I mean, one of the more magical moments you're ever going to see. And we had an amazing crowd for that. If we could get 3 or 4 crowds next week that do that, our guys, they love having guys out there. And I think, the stuff we talked about earlier with the style of baseball we play, I'd like to think people that come out to watch it are going to see some high energy, fast paced baseball. And it's been better this year. We've seen growing crowds and we've seen more support, but we want to keep that growing and we want to put on a good show for those people when they show up.
Couple quick hitters from our mailbag, if I can get.
Yeah, fire away.
He's ready to watch some tape, Aaron.
I know. First team All Big 12, Carrington Cross. Yes or no?
Player of the year is, if he's not first team All Big 12.
I was getting to that. You're jumping the gun.
There are 9 hitters in our league better than Carrington Cross. I need to see those guys. It's a shoot. He better be unanimous.
Nathan Taylor, first team All Big 12.
I'll just say the same things I just said. No, he's a first teamer. He's grown. He's competing for the league pitcher of the year, which I wasn't convinced he'd do that this year, but he keeps getting better. He's been awesome. Landon, first team All Big 12. Yeah, put them all on. I never look at the stats.
Let's go.
I feel like 300 with 12 bombs and 30 bags is good. I think that's solid. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but it seems like that's good. Jose Canseco thought that was good, and Landon's not even on steroids.
Here we go.
And Carrington Cross, Big 12 Player of the Year. You think so?
I can be half political here. There's a lot of really good players in this league, but what I know is you could offer me any player in this league to trade Carrington Cross for, and we wouldn't even consider it. To me, he's the most valuable player I could ever imagine having. So if that's Player of the Year, great. If it's not, then he's still the most valuable player in the history of baseball. So that's pretty good too.
And the last question from the mailbag. Essentially, what are you doing different at the end of the season that you're just second year in a row now here in the Big 12 and at the end of the year you're just surging?
I think it goes back to what we just talked about. We really push our guys to enjoy it and not get so caught up in how important I think we really emphasize what a special experience this is. I think the other thing we do really well is we try to stay focused on continuing to get better. This is a really hard sport to practice. We play 4 days a week. The NCAA requires a day off. Sometimes we have double midweeks. You don't want to run them into the ground. And so I think a lot of teams, when they get to April, kind of hit cruise control and try to maintain. And we have really stayed on our guys, find ways to get better. And you're not going to get better at everything this time of year, but you eat a little better, you sleep a little better, get a couple bunts and whatever that is. And I think that's paid off. Is our coaching staff is a bunch of guys that are small school guys that development was everything to us. And I think we press that on our players when maybe some other programs, good coaches, but maybe have backed off the accelerator more than us. But I think it's that combination, kind of that loose energy and that focus on let's just keep getting better and not to worry too much about results. Now you say that now, if we lose the last 8 games, you're going to say we're chokers and gag at the end of season. So it can change quick.
We'll have you back on for that too then.
You're only as good as the next outing.
I know it. Yeah, simple enough.
Oral Roberts, good luck.
Yep. Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on. Sorry I took so much of your time. Hopefully you got 3 or 4 viewers left after all of that, but
hey, we're up near 50, so people are happy.
Yeah, that's 49 more friends than I have.
I told you, very, very, very special guest, Coach. I told you. So.
Doug Martin still likes me, so I got one in my corner.
There we go.
That's a tough nut to crack. He doesn't like many people.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why we like each other. Nobody likes either of us. So.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck for us this week and this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Coach. He's the man.
He's great. He is awesome.
He is the man.
Great podcaster. Maybe we should have him on my spot.
I don't think I have enough. I don't think we can pay him enough. I don't think I could get him for what I pay you.
Diet Mountain Dew. That's it.
I mean, yeah. I just send him what? 3 cases of Diet Mountain Dew a week, and I think he'd do it. I'd love to get his thoughts on all other sports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Life.
I mean, it's safe to say that like that's the fastest 50 minutes of podcasting that we've had. It just
great.
blows by. Amazing. And
Every
like
time
Aaron said, they're on fire. So let's keep it rolling.
But we knew that the first time we had him on. Like the first time we talked to that guy, we were like, oh, this guy's different.
Oh yeah.
The funny thing is he's a lot like having Doug Martin on. Like Doug's the exact same way. Doug's going to tell you exactly what's on his brain.
Right. And you know, like I would love to sit back a couple Diet Mountain Dews with him and, you know, cans of other sorts and just have a grand old time. So
Brent,
that would be
I've got a can of something for you in a little bit.
Oh baby. Live from the Cincy Light Studios, huh?
Maybe a little something else too.
Okay. Wow.
Well, the mailbag's got a sponsor for this month.
Oh baby. Lock and load. I'm excited to see it then. Well then we should probably timestamp this so that we don't, you know, carry on too much and bury how amazing Coach Bishop was. So let's timestamp this. We'll get into the other segment. This week is my second favorite segment ever. Will be the next segment that we do because that what we just had was my first favorite. So, but take it away, Chad.
This timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby. Yeah, you know, normally every week this segment is my favorite segment, but no, not this week, man. Sorry, Ryan. You take second place this week. It's still high praise, but you know, I just hope that you're ready to carry the torch that Coach Bush will just pass on. Tough act to follow.
I guess so. It is.
He's really good.
He is.
Fantastic. Let's rip.
All right, guys. First question out of the mailbag. Give me your I'm not the mailbag, the riffing with
I
your
like
mailbag.
That. Coming for Aaron's job. Look at that.
Sticking with the Coach Bishop momentum. Final prediction of the last games of the season for the Bearcats, and do they make the NCAA tournament?
TCU is going to be tough on the road. I mean, that's one of those where if you can get one, you feel like, you know, get Oral Roberts tomorrow, get one out of the TCU series, and then you get Indiana, you close with Kansas State at home with a lot on the line. I mean, I think they're right at the cut line. Baseball is typically very volatile. We saw them go from, there were, you know, some talk about like next 4 out or whatever, but now you're starting to see people have Cincinnati in the field. So they did a massive service to their resume in Lawrence, Kansas over the weekend. Get 2 here to 2 out of the 4 to end this week. And then, you know, maybe 3 out of 4 to close it out. I think they're in. So, you know, it's going to be a tough final stretch, but they're playing good ball. And they're not only, we talked about the hitting, but really Friday and Sunday, the pitching got them kind of over the hump, got them in, you know, they gave up a little bit early Friday, but then shut Kansas down and were able to pull ahead. Sunday, they dominated Kansas. So keep that pitching going. Let the bats do what they're doing, the work on the bases, and I think they're going to get in. I'm going to take them, Ryan. They're going to get in.
If the last hour was any indication of what this team is like right now, they are not playing anything but loose right now, because I feel like you emulate what your coach instills in you and who he is and his general demeanor. To do a podcast with us literally in mid-season and maybe the toughest stretch of the season as you are trying to get into the promised land. Yeah, I don't know how you bet against this Bearcats team.
And I'll add this, Aaron. When I reached out yesterday I just said, hey, can we get somebody from baseball? Carrington Cross would have been great. Like I would have taken anybody, but baseball was hot. I was like, hey, let's get somebody from the baseball team on here. And the response was almost instant. Coach Bischel's in. Well, I didn't want to take his time, but I'll take okay. But that wasn't the ask, and he's down. Let's talk some ball.
Yeah, I just trying to grow the brand. I mean, the brand of baseball. Every game is just exciting to watch, and you can just tell that they really emulate him on the field and in the dugout as well. All signs point to that. If you go based off RPI, which is crazy that college baseball
really does
still so predicated to the RPI, which is, hey, you know what? It died in football 6 years ago or whatever it was, or in basketball, I mean, and here we are. TCU, like you said, they're gonna be tough. They're 15th in the RPI right now. Kansas State, that final series is 46. Cincinnati is 43, which is the largest riser after the past weekend, which was very, very worthy. 16 spots is what they rose. And then, of course, a very sneaky game tomorrow. I think they figure out a way because, it's a hard final stretch of the season. But, I wanted to kind of ask Coach, and, we kind of ran out of time a little bit. It's like, how do you balance the whole, playing loose and going up there with, not too much care, like what Ryan asked, with how crucial pretty much every at bat is the rest of the next 2 weeks. And then, of course, in Big 12 tournament play as well. So I think they find a way to do it. You don't go to Kansas and sweep the Jayhawks if you're not kind of clicking at the right time. So I do think they make the tournament, and maybe it's, they take win tomorrow and then take 2 of 3 would be massive and probably wouldn't really need to worry too much, but take 1 or 2, just don't get swept, and then finish out strong at home in that final week. I think that they'll be dancing. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers.
Let's go. Stick with another baseball question. Give me your % odds that Carrington Cross makes it to the show.
100%.
I mean, you never know, so I'll go 92%.
Okay.
It's never 100. Injuries.
Batting 400 is insane.
That's actually, I meant to jump in and ask him, and I didn't get to, but it's not the 400. His on base percentage is like 540. More than half the time he's on base. That's bananas.
It's crazy.
So Chad, how long do you think it'll take him to reach the big leagues?
I mean, from what he says of his approach, it doesn't sound like it's going to take him long to learn the stuff that you have to teach minor league guys. Right? I think that is, so many times through college, you get there on just your raw natural ability. You're not a guy that really, has a great understanding of your swing and how how you impact the defense and where you're hitting the ball and what you're trying to accomplish. From talking to Coach Bischel, it sounds like he has a lot of those qualities already locked in. So 2 years, maybe. I think, he's a 4th-year guy. So 21, 22, probably get to the league by 24, 25 or so. Maybe a little bit sooner as a guy that really has been a grinder and gotten there the hard way.
I think age. How old is Carrington? I think he's a little older. Which would be the only thing that would hurt him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have MLB mock drafts all locked up on my side, but I mean, that would be the only thing slowing him down, or maybe the thing propelling him to get there is you're seeing a handful of pretty solid hitters that have been able to kind of rise quickly up the ranks into the majors, but I don't know. I just think that he's kind of just case. Yeah. That I think JP's got it in the chat.
23
year,
yeah,
23. Yeah. I just think he's so dialed in, and it's not even like too much of a out of the realm. Just the ability that he has to hit home runs, like 3 home runs in one game, is tough, obviously. But his average, like you guys are mentioning, just kind of separates him from just kind of a high home run hitter. So I don't know. I think yes, Ryan, to answer your question, would be solid percentage high. What do you think, Ryan?
There's a lot that goes into like jumping up double to AAA. It's a big adjustment, and then a lot of things have to go your way to be able to get called up to a team. So I think there's a lot of different factors that are going to be outside of his control. But what Coach was saying about him, his approach, Chad, what you were mentioning, I'm sticking with his percentages are definitely going to be above 60%. But I think anything holding him back is going to be, time base wise, is going to be stuff that you can't really train for, and it's kind of outside of his ability. But because there's so many guys, all different Dominican guys, different guys in Puerto Rico and Cuba. They're always signing young 17, 16, 18-year-old guys. So there's always going to be stuff he has to fight through. But, I'm definitely think we'll be seeing him suiting up in the show one day, hopefully for the Reds, because we know they always need help. They're never
Are they still getting no hit?
I think so. I mean, did you see the guy
7.
break his arm?
Yeah.
Matt Olson.
Tyler Callahan.
Oh, God.
Tyler Callahan
Hope
broke
he's
his
all
arm.
right.
They already diagnosed a fractured left forearm.
Yeah.
That's quick. That's quick. Huh. Good question. Ready for the next one, Ryan.
All right. So you got to pick 2 out of these 3 coaches to sit down, get some good American bar food, crack open some Cincy Lights between Bischel, Wes, and Sat. One's got to go. Pick your 2.
Well, jeez.
So Wes is more of a wine guy.
All right.
So maybe that disqualifies. I don't think he's much of a beer guy. I think Wes is more of a wine guy.
Drink a choice. Doesn't have to be this.
Yeah, but I don't want to sit at a bar with some guy drinking wine. Like, I love Wes, but that's just a bad look. Like, we're all ripping wings and throwing back Cincy Lights, and Wes orders a nice bottle of Cab. I don't know. Bischel is in for sure. Bischel's a lock.
Yeah.
Bischel's not giving you coach speed. Bischel's gonna shoot you straight.
He's doing a damn stand-up set at the bar.
Wes will get mad. I'll go Wes and Bischel. I don't think Sad will get mad at me for not picking him. Wes will be mad at me if I didn't pick him.
I think I'm just taking Coach Bischel because I don't want to entertain any other conversation. I just want to laugh.
Can we get Bischel and Doug Martin? That's if I'm picking from the athletic department, I want Bischel and Doug Martin. That's who I want.
Exactly. I'll order a Cincy Light, but I'll ask for Wes to pour me some of his wine while we enjoy a salad together. But yeah.
Whoa.
What? He has his own. We're not eating out of the same bowl.
Share the bottle, share the salad.
Are we going to Olive Garden? Like, what is happening?
You know what? It would be a nice bottle, and with a few Cincy Lights out there, and just hear what Coach Bischel has to think about what we're doing. So I think that'd be the pick.
When you're there, your family.
Yeah,
I'm Sat and Bischel, man. Satterfield's hilarious. He knows how to chop it up. So, and we know what Bischel can do. Bischel's a natural at the chopping. So, I'm going Sat and Bischel ball.
I mean, Sat was a natural on the last time we had him on the BBP too. He was letting loose, and I enjoyed that quite a lot. So, yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? We got a question in the basketball mailbag. I checked it earlier that asks when old Wes is coming on up here soon. So hey, you know what?
I think everybody's coming up here soon.
See how relaxed everyone is on 513 Day, huh?
Ryan, you taking off next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be locked in.
Need you on for 12 hours. I love it.
From the desk. We need Ryan from the desk at GE.
Yeah, I switched roles now, so I have my phone at my desk, so I can tune in and do a little multitasking. No more steel door classified.
Leroy says, Bishop and Nico, give me some Cincy lights and Bush Apple and a bonfire. Let's have a night. I'm in, Leroy.
Yeah, that sounds like a spectacular Friday night.
That would be epic.
The problem is we can't invite Royer then because Royer monopolizes our time with Nico.
No, but Bish will be a great buffer because he can just riff it with all that. So he would be great at kind of stealing the mic away and kind of letting us pick his brain. So I think Bish will be the perfect way to break up the bromance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Corey next Tuesday. I think when we have Corey back on, I'd rather have him in a full segment,
feature role.
Yeah, like to break one. Once the roster is
Spotlight.
where it needs to be and all that stuff. I don't know if that's the best use of our second visit with Corey. Maybe if it was the first one, 513 day would have been right. But I don't know. I'm not ruling anything out. We're still in the organizational stages of what's going to happen next Tuesday. But everybody get excited because it's going to be a good one.
Hey now, get excited. Just about as excited as I am for this next question, Ryan.
Yeah, I think it's your turn to kind of set us up here with the famous.
No, it's not famous. You text me. Everyone thinks I make this part up like it's a bit, like your bit of being late every time, which is a bit by now, right? It's a bit. Absolutely has to be a bit.
Oh yeah,
which I think is awesome. But no, I remember on Saturday, early evening, you called me and you were like, "Hey man, you want to FaceTime during the Derby?" And I was like, "It's like, yeah, dude, yeah, let's do it." And then so like we both made a mint julep together. Do you remember this?
I do.
I mean, you were about 4 or 5 deep, so I don't know, but we had the mint julep together. We turned on the Derby, we watched it together, and then it finished, and all of us were just like, "Oh my gosh, what a crazy race that was!" I just unbelievable finish coming out of nowhere. Sovereignty takes the crown, taking it away from old journalism, the heavy favorite. And then you said, "Hey, Brent, is this the greatest 2 minutes in sports?" And I said, "Wow, dude, that is one heck of a question, Ryan. Why don't we ask that on the BBP? What is the singular greatest 2 minutes in sports? Is it the Derby? Is it a 2-minute drill in a big time football game? Is it the final 2 minutes of a close basketball game? What is the singular greatest 2 minutes in sports?"
It's the Derby because it's actually 2 minutes.
Okay.
Like the final 2 minutes of a basketball game can take an hour now with replay review.
That's fair.
Like if you're looking at a close game in basketball and there's 2 minutes left, you got 20 minutes before the game's going to be over. The Derby, it's 2 minutes. Like all the buildup, all the hoopla, all the hype, the bell rings, the gates open. Whatever happens is going to happen in exactly 2 minutes. So it's the Derby.
Okay. About like boxing or MMA, the final 2 minutes of the final round that they're gonna lock in, go blow for blow in that final 2 minute stretch. Aaron, what's your favorite 2 minutes in sports?
Just to play contrarian.
Yeah,
being at the Kentucky Derby is unreal. I'll say that. It's insane. Being on the infield, it's insane. But I think the craziest 2 minutes in sports is the final 2 minutes of WrestleMania final night, because you never know who's coming down that ramp. You don't know who's getting the pin. You don't know what's happening.
That's also like 14 minutes, the final 2 minutes of a wrestling match.
Well, Chad, we're talking 2 minutes of game time. Let's kick this little 2 minutes that you're saying here. But yeah. Oh, Leroy covered up with mine. Nice. Okay.
I'm going with your team is either tied or down one. NHL playoffs, power play, 2 minutes. Oh, it is just all the stakes. Let's go game 7. It's That's the best. If you guys ever get a chance to go to an NHL playoff game, you got to do it. They're the most stressful, high octane energy sporting events I've ever been to.
I watched a group of St. Louis Blues fans just absolutely have their innards ripped out like yesterday.
Yeah.
That was insane.
I mean, just counting down to the victory, counting down to the Game 7 victory. 4, 3, 2. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Were they screaming, "Get it out, clear it"?
Yeah. I mean, just like literally somebody was in the background counting it down. Like we are moving on. We are advancing. And then puck finds the net, tie score, going to overtime, just gutted. That's a good one, Ryan. That's a good one. Especially if you're down, you pull the goalie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That goal by the Jets, Game 7, down 1, score with the second left goalie pull, go on to win in double overtime. That's
incredible.
Good for them. But yeah, if I was a Blues fan, man, that's one of the worst. Because then you sit back for 40 more minutes. Like, what do they play? Another 30 minutes of hockey after that?
Yeah.
You're just can't believe what happened to you, but still, like,
you're going to lose at that point, right? You're going to lose.
Yeah. You're just waiting. You're waiting to be put out of your misery.
Yeah, wind out of the sail. So no Blue Jackets in this playoffs. Do you have a team that you're kind of locked in, liking to watch?
Not really, because I'm pretty big on the Blue Jackets. I mean, I guess Ovi and the Caps, the season he's having, but it's hard to root for the Capitals, being they're in the Metro with the Jackets, and they're always good. So it's not like, oh, these guys are having a year or something. But Winnipeg's always plays hard. They got really good fans out in the West, but I don't know. I guess who's left in the East? It's Caps, and then I think the Hurricanes.
Yeah, Carolina,
something like that.
Caps,
Yeah, I'm not really big on either of those, but I guess just to see Ovi kind of keep going with his record-setting year, see what he can do.
I like what Leroy said in here about the Indy 500. I don't know if any of you guys have gone, but yeah, like, that's another one of those full day events where you're kind of just, it's hot. And by that point, you a couple few beers straggled still in the old cooler, and you wash them down. And then those final 2+ laps, just, everyone's on their feet. And especially if it's a close finish, there's nothing more exciting than that. But Chad, the Derby, man, that it's kind of like, because the same type of thing, but it's lead up all day with all these other races, and then that final race comes, and you're just,
it's not the final race, right?
There's 2 races after it. The big race,
but that's that is something different. They do have 2 races. I think people don't really know that like
the one for all the roses, But man, sports, gotta love sports, man.
The best.
Well, let's timestamp this.
Great
job, Ryan. Great job, dude.
Thanks.
This timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
All righty. This is normally the part of the show where we do some quick hitters. Chad, do you want to dive into the thing that you sent earlier today, or should we?
I mean, I don't know if it's a quick hitter. I think it is kind of a full segment. Maybe Aaron and I will nightcap it tomorrow night. I can kind of give an introduction to it here. Iowa State's athletic director went on to a podcast. I think it's Eli Moore that he podcasted with. I think that was the guy's name.
Jamie Pollard is the AD.
Yeah, Jamie Pollard. And basically said, like, they're not going to have enough money to do revenue sharing. Like, they're going to have to find other ways to supplement the income in the athletic department. I think this is kind of, they were touching on in and around private equity and why that is being talked about so heavily. It's fascinating to me because this is something I've talked about for a while now, where Cincinnati is at kind of a, I don't want to say an advantage, but they are not in a similar situation as a lot of these schools that were already spending the money, that were already getting a full share and already spending the full share of their Big 12 money on whatever. Because Cincinnati is just now, they haven't even gotten that full check yet. So their operating expenses are already significantly lower than a lot of the other Big 12s, which is a disadvantage right now. But when revenue share goes live, they don't have to, because essentially what I'm reading into this, they don't want to make cuts. They don't want to make the tough decisions. They don't want to look at something and say, hey, we're going to have to shift our budget. We have been spending all of this money. Now we're going to have to give this portion of the budget to the athletes, which should have been happening all along. We don't want to change who and what we are. So it's going to create, and he even talked about like not being able to stay in the Big 12. Like, is this a decision where we have to drop down a level and be Northern Iowa? I find it fascinating that they're actually going to like point the finger at everybody else instead of pointing that finger back at themselves and saying, we need to restructure what we're doing with this coming.
It was almost a little like sky is falling too, because they're talking about it devastating the entire campus and all of your bars and restaurants and the entire the infrastructure of the entire community is going under if we don't have sports. No, people are still going to go to bars, bro. They'll just watch other sports.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but taking away game day from those towns.
Game day brings thousands and thousands and thousands of people into town.
That nobody's going to Ames ever unless you live there. So, like, it's not like there's like a tourist destination that's going to bring people to Ames. But that's why these athletic departments have to like do some soul searching and figure out maybe we don't need, 14 deputy athletic directors. Maybe we don't need, 63 people in this department. Maybe we could get by on this department with 35 people. Like, there's a lot of bloat that has happened. I've talked about this for a long time. College sports was designed to be a zero-sum line item, because if it ever showed up that schools were stockpiling money, then sharing money with the players would have happened sooner. But what they had to be able, for the longest time until the courts got involved, what they had to be able to say was, look, we didn't make any money. We don't have any money to share. This is the cost of doing business. We lost money last year. No, you poorly spent money because you had to spend it all when you were at one of these universities that was cashing these major checks. You're telling me you can't operate an athletic department on $40 million, $50 million? You certainly can. And, miss me with the oh, woe is me. Like, this is going to be so bad for us. Aaron and I will get into this again, because I know Aaron has plenty of thoughts on it.
Subsidizing it on the students as a student fee is garbage too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, shit, we paid so much, you just write that on the slip, and kids won't even know a damn difference. You want me to be honest? It's shady.
It is funny. Yeah, it's shady because, well, there was a school they mentioned that is doing that currently. I forget which one it
Arizona.
was. Yeah, Vatech. Yeah. Well, in
Arizona subsidized $30+ million, and they were getting the fat checks from the Pac-12 and now the Big 12.
Well, and then what? Tennessee raised the prices of their tickets to football games, their ticket packages to pay the players, right?
Yeah. they basically like rounded up, I guess, or something.
Right. But you multiply that by 100,000.
By 100,000 people, and you round up $10 by 100,000 people, and now you got $1 million.
Right. So it's
every
just,
game.
Like Royer said, it's kind of shady, but I mean it's a built-in thing, and there's certain costs that come into this and that, and maybe it's an option that you can give whoever's paying for the college to, hey, do you want to throw in $10 for student tickets this year, which are not only student tickets, but it's also like $5 goes to the student athletes. So it just, the whole thing is going to be weird. And obviously, they talked about that reserve, how they, use it all during COVID and whatnot. It's going to become a big finger pointing battle too, and just be like,
well,
oh,
what
you
he was
guys
doing
did this wrong.
was he was taking a shot at Iowa.
Right. Exactly.
Iowa got government funding during COVID.
Yeah.
Like,
so
there's a little politics involved there, but spare me with Iowa State is cash poor.
Right. Right. Exactly. And you know what? This is right up Aaron's alley. I can't wait to listen to that nightcap because he likes to go off on these topics sometimes, and it's actually very entertaining. So, Aaron, I'm excited to hear your takes.
Look for that tomorrow. Look for that tomorrow.
Awesome. That is called a tease. There we go. Very nice tease. Couple other things, obviously, that happened since we were last on here. That you and Dave kind of talked about this on the BCJ pod. The hiring of Mamadou Njai on the basketball staff. Brooks Goodman, quarterback commit in the 2026 class, and then just also today, way too early, 2026 NFL draft mock draft put out by Todd McShay. Ryan Royer,
Todd.
Your boy Joe Royer,
cousin Joe,
at the number 32 pick. Nuts that the way too early, but hey, you know what? Any news is good news. So let's hope that comes out. Anything on any of those storylines, guys? I know
the pick
you guys
makes sense though, Brent, because he went to the Eagles as a tight end, and we've seen some Bearcats at tight end with the Eagles before.
Well, Brent Selleck, great first name. BDIAS is asking who makes the cap that I'm wearing. Oh, old buddy from high school. His name is Ted Karras. The CincyHat.com. It's a great foundation. Go check it out. No free ads, but for something like that, and
I don't mind a free ad on that one, Brett.
Right? Exactly. For something like that, and for my boy Teddy, it's go check it out. There's no doubt about that. I mean I've had this for years. Had another one that I conveniently left at a Bengals game, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. The CincyHat.com. Go check it out. You guys all ready for the mailbag? Shall we pop on in?
Give me 1 second. I'm doing something here that
Oh yeah.
We do have for right now, for the month of May, we have a sponsor for the mailbag, Brent.
Oh,
and I am working on getting that finalized here. It's loading.
I am anxiously awaiting. So is Ryan.
Brett.
Oh yeah.
It's called Costello. You know what Costello is, Brent?
I do not.
Find your coast with the real fruit experts. This is from our friends at Urban Artifact. Costello is the THC soda made with real fruit, all natural ingredients, and naturally derived Delta-9 THC. Enjoy the smooth, nostalgic flavors of red cream, grape and orange soda, along with lemonade and other seasonal varieties. They can be found online, costello.com, COASTALO. Enter the code BCJ20, and your next online order will get 20% off. Or you can find them at retailers. There's over a dozen states, 300 retailers across Ohio, where other adult beverages are sold. Sip, relax, and coast away. Please drink responsible. Must be 21 to purchase. Costello. I've had one.
Wow.
They're good.
Epic.
They're
good.
back.
Drink one of those with the astronaut food. Isn't that what it was called? And
Oh yeah.
you will feel like you are in outer space.
We're not proponents of mixing and matching, Aaron. Just try Costello on your own. If you haven't dabbled in the beverages before,
yeah.
they act faster than the edibles.
Okay.
The edibles like 30, 45 minutes. The beverages like 15, 20 minutes.
Pretty instant. All right. Well, this is
they're
before
very
Royer. Before Royer came on, we used to remember, Aaron. We would crack at the same time. The old back in the day, man.
the old Urban Artifact.
They're back. They're back.
Let's go.
So they're sponsoring the Mailbag for the month of May.
Amazing.
If you'd like to be a sponsor, hit me up.
I love
DM me, private message, whatever. We'll get your company in here. But Costello.com, BCJ20 will get you 20% off your orders. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little skeptical of the Delta 9. Okay. It was good. It was good.
Oh. What flavor did you go with?
The cream soda.
Ooh. Okay.
Or no, I had cherry. I had cherry soda.
Cherry soda.
Yeah, a little cherry. Had a little Dr. Pepper kind of feel to it.
Okay.
It was very tasty. And it
Vibes
worked. If you're wondering,
high.
it worked. It worked.
Hey, you know what? quick response to how it worked, or if it didn't work, it worked.
It worked. It worked.
That's all we got to say.
All right. Mailbag. So it's a pretty light mailbag after we emptied the baseball clip on Coach. But starting off in the football portion of the mailbag, any camp battles you're looking forward to watching / covering? I think it'll be interesting to see how cornerback 2 and offensive line shake out.
I agreed with offensive line until they got Cotton. And now I think it's going to be Cotton, Tengestal, Gerhardt, Teo, and Buford. So I don't know that there's a lot of question on offensive line. I also, from what we saw in the spring, like Logan Wilson jumped up and grabbed that cornerback 2 spot, I think. So, there's some young guys nipping at the heels, but Jordan Robinson's now gone. I think Ormani Arnold is in that mix, but I think they Logan Wilson kind of jumped up and grabbed that number 2 spot. Even, in some of the conversations we've had and I've had, I'm wondering, does Logan Wilson jump up far enough to get that number 1 spot from McDoom? Like, I think quarterback 1 might be the interesting battle to see who lines up in that number 1 spot.
It's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a far better problem to have with guys competing for cornerback 1 than guys competing for cornerback 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think I'm guessing that's our old friend Matt Opper, who's been around for a long time. I think those were great questions going into camp. And coming out of camp, and especially with the addition of Joe Cotton, maybe not as much. I think safety is fascinating because I think there's 5 guys for 3 spots.
Right.
So I think that's going to be a really interesting one to watch. Wide receiver 2 and slot wide receiver is going to be interesting to watch. Just trying to think of what other ones jump out at me. Rush end. Will Marquez Parker be able to hold off some of the transfers that are coming into that position? What do you guys think?
I'm kind of interested to see actually the depth at cornerback, like who steps up, because I mean last year obviously there's a change of coach at that position as well, but I kind of just outside of those 3 names, we kind of like who's going to really step up of the young guys, the redshirt freshmen and the sophomores, and who's going to really rise and be that 3rd, 4th cornerback that they can safely throw out there and at certain sets of downs, or if they're going to just completely ride, cornerback 1 and 2 for all of the defensive snaps. Because I think, you kind of need to have a little bit of depth piece there. So it seemed like that was kind of the only one that really, when you put out your 2 deep, that I kind of looked at and I was like, oh, well, interesting. Doesn't seem like there's crazy amount of depth at the cornerback spot.
Yeah. A lot of young guys. Like that's going to, Gravy and Daniel James and Willie Goodwin. Can those guys make an impact on the 2 deep? I think that's definitely a good point of contention, Brent. They're going to need them to.
Kick return, punt return, and gunners. Because my God, special teams was a mess the last 2 years, and I am very curious to see, because I don't think it's going to be just throwing a guy out there as it's felt the last couple of years. I think that this is genuinely going to be a situation where, because you have, it seems every coach right now has a say in what happens on special teams without a true special teams coordinator. So I don't think you're going to see status quo. I think you're going to see guys competing, and I think that it's going to actually be interesting to see who ends up winning those jobs.
Ryan, what you got?
I'm not really versed in this, to be honest with you. So I'm not really going to know much of this stuff until really camp starts going.
I feel that.
All right. Do you think we'll see the new uniforms before Big 12 media days?
I would bet more that you'll see them on Big 12 media days than before Big 12 media days. So if the betting line was over under midnight the day before Big 12 media days, I would take the latter, the over. I would go over.
There's not going to be a Twitter picture of just a jersey on a hanger on eBay or anything.
Maybe.
That's the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Thoughts on hiring Coach Bishop to coach offense next year against Kansas in basketball?
Sure.
Joke question.
He hilarious.
I mean, that offense against Kansas was just, man, that was
outstanding.
Rough.
Yeah. I don't think he called the hit the ball play though.
I meant the offense that we had against Kansas at Fifth Third Arena.
Oh, it was awful. It was dreadful.
What kind of spaces will be opening up in the Lindner Center as football begins to use the IPF? And are there short and long-term thoughts about what the men's and women's hoops teams can use those spaces for?
I mean, you're going to get pretty much the entire 7th floor. And that really, you guys had almost all of the 7th floor, Ryan?
Yeah, we had that on lock.
So you're going to get that. You'll get more access to the weight room. But that's, Mike's already got his spot with the Monster Factory. So, maybe he'll get a little bit more space, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It's not something I've necessarily talked about yet. I think it'll probably be more of an evolution once the football team moves out. Maybe that's Aaron, stock that away for 513 day as we're looking for things to ask people as we go through 12 hours of programming. That would probably be a good one to get an expert opinion on, as opposed to us just guessing at what the plans are.
Okay. Been pretty quiet recently on portal news. Is this roster done in the portal? Are there international prospects on the radar for this roster?
At this point, the portal's been closed for what? 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no grad transfers that can go in. The only thing that can go into the portal now are if a coach leaves or is fired or whatever, those players will have 30 days to enter. Do I think they've completely ruled out anything from the portal? No. Do I feel like they're hot on the trail of anything from the portal? Also, no. So my guess would be if there's an addition, it would be international or, somebody gets somewhere and maybe goes back into the, re-enters the portal per se, where they didn't ever officially start at their new school. Maybe something like that happens. Just spitballing here. But I would guess we're probably done with the portal. Guess. But that's not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. That's just reading the tea leaves on it. Doesn't seem like there are many names that they're chasing in the portal, and the portal's been closed for a couple weeks. So you pretty much comb through most of what's left, I would assume, as a staff, and decided on who you think can help and who can't. I would guess if there are future additions, my guess would be more international than anything else, and that can run into June and July, as we've seen in the past. So might want to settle in to see if there's anything additional coming to the roster. I know they want to add to the roster. Wing forward, hybrid forward, somebody along those lines, 4-man. Yeah. You just got to make sure it's a right fit, and they're looking for impact guys. If you're looking for an impact guy, you don't go get a guy that you don't think can make an impact just to have a guy. So we'll see. I have a great answer for that right now.
Will you be having Coach Wes Miller on any of your podcasts in the near future?
We have him on every offseason, so I would assume we'll have him on this offseason as well. I don't know what his schedule is going to be like next Tuesday, but if he's available, odds are probably pretty good that he joins us for 513 Day. He joined us last year, right, Aaron? As far as I can remember. So you're gonna look. If you're new and you haven't seen the 513 Day marathon, you're gonna hear from almost everybody. If they're in the building, they throw them on the screen with us at some point in time during the day. So I think there's a good chance you'll see him here soon.
And that ends the basketball portion of the mailbag. There's 2 questions in the banks.
Ooh, the bank.
Chad, how would you classify UC's mega donor status? We don't hear much beyond Larry Shakley, the Kelseys. TQL has been a good partner, but do you have a pulse on the rest of the city's corporate engagement with athletics? I get the sense UC is toward the lower end of the rung on these fronts, but curious if the athletic department is making significant progress with adding large donors.
The other major donor was longtime Bearcat Journal member Mike Valentine, and unfortunately he recently passed away. His wife is still heavily involved with the university, but I don't know what that means in terms of athletics donations. There hasn't been any big major projects. And that was more of what, the Nippert renovation and the Fifth Third renovation. And Mike and Peg were more involved with that type of stuff. Basketball, Dave Hershey is kind of the Larry Shakley of basketball. His name is not out there as much, but he does a lot behind the scenes for the basketball program. In terms of the rest of the city's corporate dollars, there's some, but there's, it's difficult in a pro sports town because that money is spread out. It is not centralized, where everybody always wondered, how's Louisville get all this money? Well, it's because they've got a lot of big corporations and they've only got Louisville.
Right.
So that's a lot easier of a sell. Here, Reds, Bengals, And now FC Cincinnati continues to progress as a franchise. They've got a very loyal fan base, and that's another thing that is kind of splitting up the pie in the city. And so, do I think they need to do a better job? Yeah, I would say they would need to do a better job, but it's also easy to say that and not be living with the reality. Hi, Tiger. Not be living with the reality of fighting for money in a city that has a lot of different hands, a lot of different mouths to feed. How's that? Mouths to feed. I think that's a good way to put it. So it's not easy.
Yeah, it is funny that Aaron brought up the Kelce's because in a recent
they don't have that kind of
pod.
money.
Well, no, I'm not saying money wise, but
yeah,
in a recent pod, Jason said he's going to be involved in some way. When they were talking about how Max Crosby was, became the assistant GM for Eastern Michigan. And I was like, oh, interesting to see where that leads to. But yeah.
Now I think down the road the Kelce's might have that kind of money, but right now they're just getting into that post-football life.
Exactly right.
Football money is great personal wealth, but they don't have like oh you need 10 million, I'll write you a check. Like that, they're not there yet. They might get there.
Not that NBA Supermax deals,
Like even then, like those guys. Shaq, you know why Shaq is infinitely wealthy?
Well, because he owns a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What Papa John's and Five Guys and
Gold Bond.
There's a gym,
Icy Hot
Fitness or
Icy Hot, yeah.
Planet Fitness or one of those gyms. He owns like 40 of those franchises. Like he has turned his wealth into exponential wealth.
Yeah,
and the Kelce's aren't really there yet.
Right.
They have a chance, as good a chance as anybody, to turn that into stupid type of money, but they still just have football money for now. Until you marry a billionaire,
they need those Campbell's Chunky Soups to keep coming, and
marry a billionaire. That might change the financial status.
T-Swizzle would be pretty cool, yeah, for sure.
In honor of the greatest 2 minutes in sports, if you had the opportunity to name a racehorse, what would you name it? And K.R. Wadsworth, UC, said his answers were Ritter's Up or You Got Peed On, in honor of Isaiah Peed.
That's good.
Ritter's Up is awesome. That's a great one. Royer, anything punny with your name you could do?
The Destroyer.
Oh,
Royer the Destroyer. I think you have to put Royer in there. Royer the Destroyer.
Yeah,
I like it.
That rolls off the tongue.
It does. I'll give a nod to one of my favorite Bearcats of all time and call the horse Mr. Bobbit. That'd be nice. I like that.
But that could be taken a different way.
Okay.
For those of you who aren't old enough, look up Lorraine.
Lorena.
Oh.
Or was it Lorena? Yeah.
Yeah, Lorena. Her husband, she got a souvenir.
Just look it up.
Wow. Okay. Jeez. Whew. All right. I take it back. I'll name mine the CincyHat.com. Go support a good cause. There we go.
I'd probably do something to honor Kelly. Kelly's Angels. How about that?
Oh yeah.
One.
I like it.
A play on Charlie's Angels.
I like that. Yeah. Let's get a horse. Let's get a BCJ horse. I like this idea.
Yeah.
How about the fact that every horse that ran was a descendant
of Secretariat.
Of Secretariat. That's crazy.
Wow.
Absolutely
I didn't
crazy.
catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All 50 of them were in Secretariat's tree.
Wow.
Loins.
I mean, you got to take it from the best.
They were all distant cousins, essentially. Every horse in the race. All 20 horses in the race were
great grandson, but they're all related. Nuts.
That was wild.
Crazy.
Crazy.
The greatest 2 minutes in sports. I love it. Well,
all right, there you go.
I can't come up with anything funny, so that's the mailbag. That's the mailbag presented by Costalo.
Costalo.com. BCJ20.
Okay.
For those of you on the audio platform only, that's www.costalo, only one L. For 20% off, enter code BCJ20 at checkout.
They got it in 5 milligram, 10 milligram, and I believe 25 milligram. I'm a 5 milligram guy.
Costalo. Costalo.
Yes. There you go.
Get us out of here, bro.
I'm a 5er. Brent, you might be a 10. You're probably a 10, aren't you?
Sheesh. Not these days. But hey, whatever you want me to be, Chad, I'll be that for you, brother. No doubt in that. But hey, you know what, guys? We were joined by a legend earlier. Joined by a legend who is leading the Bearcats to another thrilling finish, and only year 2 at the helm. Jordan Bishel, the GOAT. Go check out his interview on the pod earlier today. So shouts to Jordan, Coach Bishel coming on the pod. Shouts to Costalo. Shouts to our boy Danco Transmission and Auto Care, and shouts, of course, as always, to Quick Paper Supply for all the timestamps that they supply.
The Quick Paper Supply and Danco and the Holy Grail have rocked with us for a long, long time.
OGs, absolute OGs.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Happy Cinco de Mayo Day to everyone out there as well, and happy Monday. But for my guys, for the crew, for the squad, for Aaron Smith, for Chad Brendel, for Ryan Royer, I'm Brent Young. Yet again, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.